Good evening, creeps. You know, everybody's entitled to one good scare on Halloween.
I told you, you need to go check on the children.
But the podcasts of the Darkcast Network have enough scares to fill even the largest trick-or-treat sack.
No razor blades, I promise.
Join the pods of the Darkcast Network, including Murder News, Sinister Story Hour, Beyond the Rainbow, Cause of Death, Octoberpod AM, Rogue Darkness, Over the Fence, and me, Brenda, host of Horrifying History, for a pajama jammy jam of deliciously dark, devilish, and disturbing Halloween treats.
There was always something eerie about the second floor of this house.
We are like the house handing out full-size Snicker bars for your ears. And we're coming to this podcast, yes, the one you're listening to right now, on October 31st. That's Halloween Day 2022 on your favorite podcast streaming apps.
A long time ago, a man murdered his wife in that room.
Don't forget to wear your coziest pajamas for the Darkcast Network Halloween Sleepover, coming to this podcast on Halloween Day.
You are invited to join the ghosts, the banshees, the fairies, and demons run amok. We're all coming to Octoberpod's Halloween Potluck. You'll enjoy this ghastly crew if your blood doesn't end up in the stew. We'll be baking a cake and raising some hell. Beware, for heaven's sake, because we've got ghost stories to tell at Octoberpod's Halloween Potluck. Coming to YouTube on Tuesday, October 11th. Get a special preview by listening to our companion podcast, Octoberpod AM, wherever you listen to podcasts. Or find all our links at octoberpodvhs.com. Octoberpod, retro horror for bold individualists.
For those listening who are sensitive to violence, this may not be the episode for you. It's a bit more graphic than my normal episodes. Hello, and welcome to Cause of Death, 100 Seconds to Midnight. These episodes address the doomsday clock and the things that keep it ticking down, and the things we can do to stop it. The doomsday clock has been set at 100 seconds to midnight since 2020. The CDC has warned us about a global zombie apocalypse for years. And now, with the effects of global warming and emerging disease, we may be closer than ever. Worldwide, people are becoming more and more dissociated with reality. They're becoming more violent, and they're becoming angrier. Is this just a reflection of our current society, or are we on the brink of something more catastrophic? Globally, zombie sightings have been happening for centuries. However, in 2011, the Department of Defense released a document, Con-Plan 888-11. This document is essentially a protocol for zombie warfare. The document warns that this is not a joke. This was a real plan to deal with a zombie apocalypse on a large scale. I read through the document, and I felt that it was something I needed to address in this episode. In the document, zombies are classified into several categories. Pathogenic zombies are zombies that are created after people are subjected to a contagion that would turn them into zombies. Sounds ridiculous, right? Well, don't be so sure. There are thermophiles that live deep in the permafrost soils in regions where they have been covered with ice for centuries. One of these is a macrovirus called Pithovirus sibericum. This virus has been under the Siberian permafrost for 30,000 years. And over the course of the last few years, as global warming has been melting the permafrost, this virus has not only been discovered, but it has been revived in a laboratory. Pithovirus is said to pose no threat to humans. It targets amoebae. But, as we've seen before, viruses can mutate and jump from one species to another. Jean-Michel Claverie of Aix-Marseille University was quoted in an article in World Economic Forum, quote, "The thawing of permafrost, either from global warming or industrial exploitation of circumpolar regions, might not be exempt from future threats to human or animal health." End quote. What he's saying here is that even if pithovirus never jumps from amoebae to humans, there are others that may directly affect human or animal populations, and those could be devastating to human health. There are some viruses and bacterial infections that are common now that have zombie-like symptoms and could lead to a zombie apocalypse. Rabies, sleeping sickness, Kuru, Crutchfield-Jakob disease, and necrotizing fasciitis all have symptoms that could point to zombification. I'll be talking about all these diseases more in future episodes. Symbiont-induced zombies are related to pathogenic zombies, the difference being that a symbiont organism won't kill its host. The host and the pathogen feed off of one another and form a relationship where both organisms gain something. The DoD talked about radiation zombies. These zombie life forms are created when an organism, read human, is infected by an extreme dosage of electromagnetic and/or particle radiation. Do any of you live close to a cell phone tower? I'm just saying. Evil magic zombies were next on the list. Most of these zombie infections have been attributed to cultural or religious beliefs. While I'm not going to say that there aren't zombie curses, I will say that these curses only represent a small portion of the zombification we see. Voodoo is a religion based in West Africa. It has been practiced throughout Haiti and the Caribbean, Brazil, Louisiana, Florida, and other places that find their roots in African heritage. The spiritual guides of this culture are called bokors. They use herbs, shells, fish, animal parts, bones, and other things to create potions. This includes zombie powders. Zombie powders contain tetrodotoxin. This is a deadly neurotoxin found in pufferfish. Small doses of the toxin can cause zombie-like symptoms. Higher doses can lead to paralysis and coma, causing one to appear dead. Sometimes these people are buried alive only to be dug up again and revived. These zombies are also explained by the DoD as, quote, EMZs are zombie life forms created via some form of occult experimentation in what might otherwise be referred to as evil magic, end quote. Space zombies are life forms from space, or created by toxic contamination of the Earth's environment through some form of extraterrestrial toxin or radiation. Zombie satellites are sometimes classified as space zombies, but they're not a danger to humans except in cases where they conduct an unplanned deorbit. Usually, zombie satellites only interfere with SATCOM services like DirecTV. Ever had your television wonk out in the middle of something important? Zombie satellites. Weaponized zombies are life forms that were deliberately created through bio and biomechanical engineering for the sole purpose of killing people. This could be a real threat indeed. Vegetarian zombies are zombies that pose no direct threat to humans because, well, they only eat plants. However, these zombies can cause massive devastation to forests and to crops, causing food insecurity worldwide. The DoD noted that while carnivorous zombies often groan the word brains, vegetarian zombies will groan the word grains. The last zombie species that the DoD refers to is chicken zombies. I'm going to quote directly from the document here because, well, this is just too weird for me to put into my own words. Quote, CZs occur when old hens that can no longer lay eggs are incorrectly euthanized by poultry farmers using carbon monoxide. The hens are then deposited in large piles to decompose. The hens appear to be dead when buried, but inexplicably come back to life and dig themselves out from the piles of dead chickens. After reaching the surface, CZs stagger about for a period of time before ultimately expiring due to internal organ failure. CZs are simply terrifying to behold and are likely to only make people become vegetarians in protest to animal cruelty. They appear to be no direct threat to humans. They are different from weaponized zombies because they are the result of actions taken to kill a living organism versus actions taken to deliberately reanimate dead organisms or impair life functions to a minimal function. End quote. The DoD goes on to explain the environmental factors that each classification can withstand or change. The viral pathogens that cause pathogenic zombies will have some vulnerability to UV light. We know that UV light can disrupt the function of RNA in many viruses, so could be used to stem the spread of zombie pathogens. Also of note, PZs do experience some painful photosensitivity because of exposure to sunlight, so they should be far less active during the daytime. Evil magic zombies, space zombies, vegetarian zombies, and weaponized zombies are likely to be immune to any extreme weather phenomena except fire, flood, tornadoes, or tsunamis. The DoD goes on to say that a zombie apocalypse is likely to occur sometime in the near future, and because anyone who comes in direct contact with a zombie is likely to become a zombie, we need to be prepared, because at some point, there will be more zombies than people out there. Now, this all sounds pretty grim, but there are things that we can do to survive the zombie apocalypse. I, for one, am not going to go down without a fight. I've got a podcast to produce, and my dog needs me. There are several things that we can all do to ensure that zombies don't take over the earth. The DoD suggests using rainwater as a water supply. As the city water supplies are cut off, there's no telling whether or not lakes, rivers, and streams will be infected with a pathogen that causes zombification. Rainwater will become a vital source of drinking water. Those who don't shelter in place inside of a sturdy structure that serves as protection from air currents that could carry the pathogens, toxins, or radiation will be at increased risk of injury, contamination, or death. The CDC released a zombie apocalypse all hazards emergency kit in 2011. This website has since been changed to a disaster preparedness plan. I think this was done to avoid panic about a zombie apocalypse since we just went through a major pandemic, but that's just my opinion. The Zombie Apocalypse Preparedness Plan was released to prepare the U.S. since they had predicted that the world would see a zombie apocalypse by 2021. We haven't seen it yet, but it still could happen. The CDC suggests that the kit should contain 1 gallon of water per person per day. This should also contain non-perishable, easy-to-prepare food items such as MREs. You should have a minimum of a 3-day supply for each person. You'll need a flashlight, a battery-powered or hand-crank NOAA weather radio, and extra batteries. Your first aid kit should include a whistle, antibiotic ointment, bandages, face masks, gloves, and a reference book. If you take any medications, have a 7-day supply on hand. Tools like a wrench, pliers, plastic sheeting, duct tape, scissors, and matches are necessary. If you have any access to baling wire, I would personally suggest that you have as much of that as you can get on hand also. Duct tape and baling wire can fix anything. I'll attest to that. Don't forget personal hygiene items like toilet paper, soap, hand sanitizer, and bleach. Keep your personal documents in a safe place. Birth certificates, passports, insurance papers, and any medical records. Have a cell phone with a charger. Always have extra cash on hand. Cash is king in any disaster. ATMs are not going to be up and running. Emergency blankets, extra clothes, and sleeping bags are necessary for each person in the group. The grid may go down, and you could be without heat or power for a while. Have paper maps of the area, just in case you have to bail by a route that's not familiar, and your GPS is down. Remember the needs of others. If there are people who need specific medical supplies like syringes, hearing aids, glasses, or contact lenses, keep those safe. If you have little ones, keep baby supplies on hand. And don't forget games and activities. Waiting out a zombie apocalypse is going to get boring. Don't forget the pets. Food, leashes, pet ID tags, carriers, and bowls will be necessary. Make sure you have two-way radios so that if you get separated and the cell phones are down, you can contact one another. Cell phones may not always work. Have an extra set of keys to your car and your house. And lastly, make a family disaster plan way ahead of time. This is important, so pay attention. Preparedness is the key to surviving any disaster, whether it be hurricane, flood, tornado, war, or zombies. Get together with your family and talk about how you'll survive. Ask yourself how you receive information, like emergency alerts and warnings. Make a shelter plan. If you're hiding out in your house, where in the house? Plan an evacuation route. You may not be able to stay in your home. You may have to get to a zombie-proof shelter. Plan for that. Keep your car full of fuel. Don't let it get down past a half tank. There's nothing like having to evacuate and running out of gas while the sun goes down. Make a family communication plan. Figure out how you will communicate with one another should you get separated. Keep that emergency preparedness kit updated. Don't just let it gather dust. It's very important to consider the needs of everyone in your family and make sure that your plan includes them. And don't forget your pets. Zombies don't often bother with animals, but you don't want them out there fending for themselves. I've included templates in the show notes that are great guides to creating a family disaster plan. Go check it out. I want to include a list of foods to keep on hand because it takes them a long time to go bad. Honey can be used forever. It does have an expiration date, but that expiration date doesn't mean much. If it crystallizes, all you have to do is warm it up, and it's honey again. Rice stays good for somewhere close to 30 years. Stock up. Rice is good for you. Dried beans will last for 30 years also. Peanut butter can be kept at room temperature for a year. It'll smell bad and taste pretty yucky, but it won't hurt you to eat it. A zombie apocalypse could drive anyone to drink, so it's a good thing that alcohol never goes bad. Please be responsible. Energy bars are another thing that never really go bad as long as they're kept in the airtight packaging. Hard candies can last for years. Things like candy canes and Werthers are great for a zombie apocalypse. Dehydrated meats can last for up to 12 months without refrigeration. Jerky that's been vacuum sealed will last a bit longer. Bouillon cubes can last for a year or so past their expiration date. They won't taste very good, but they won't be harmful either. Canned food will keep on an average of 5 years, so stock up. Powdered milk and instant coffee will last virtually forever. They may be around even after the zombies die off. Hardtack is a kind of cracker that never goes bad. Of course, as the name suggests, hardtack is hard, so you might want to dip it in water before you try and eat it. Okay, now we're going to talk about a few more ways to survive a zombie apocalypse. The website Somebody Save Me gives 12 tips for survival. Separate your friends from your foes. You'll need a team of people that you can count on to survive. Pick allies that you can trust. Set up a base. Find a safe place before it gets dark where you can make plans for the coming day and get some sleep without fear of zombie attack. Make hunting for supplies a priority. Those rations you stored up may not last long, so you're going to have to go out and find more. Don't drink the water. Bottled water and catching rainwater will be imperative. Pull your weight. Don't be the laziest person in your group. You could get thrown to the zombies that way. On that note, the next one is eliminating the weakest link. There's always one guy who ends up being a liability. Close the door behind him and let nature take its course. Find the perfect zombie fighting ensemble. Get your PPE in line. You gotta avoid blood spatter. Find goggles, gloves, and, if possible, Tyvek. Just because you have a shelter doesn't mean you're safe. A horde of zombies can break windows and get to you. Make sure to barrier any points of ingress. Never turn your back on a zombie. They're slow and noisy, but they're super dangerous. Keep an eye on them. Find ways to fight boredom. Keep yourself busy and entertained. Be ready for anything. We have no idea what this is going to look like, so think like a Boy Scout and be prepared. Beware of humans. You can't trust anyone. Even someone you think you can trust might betray you. Now, let's talk about zombie warfare. There's going to come a time when we're all going to get sick of the stinky undead upending our lives, and we're going to want to take them out. If you're going to take one of them down, you have to destroy the frontal lobe of the brain. And this is no mean feat. The skull has evolved to stop most attacks on the brain, so it's not going to be easy to dispatch a zombie. Guns are very capable of this, but headshots are iffy. Anyone who's been to the range knows that, especially in a moving target. Not only that, but ammo may be in short supply at that point. That said, larger calibers will do the job better at a distance than smaller ones. No one wants to go hand-to-hand with a zombie, so heavy weapons like axes or sledgehammers are the order of the day. Go directly for the sides of the head, the eyes, the ears, or the crux of the neck. Those are fairly easy targets and will take them down quickly. You're going to have to keep swinging, though, because zombies normally travel in large groups. Stay back to back with your comrades and keep the momentum going. Should you find yourself in a hand-to-hand battle with a zombie, do not hit them in the face with your fist. You run the risk of getting bit. Avoid contact with their skin. Grab their clothing and use their momentum to push them past you. It's not easy to try and move into something that's coming at you. You're going to want to move away. But the best thing you can do is move into them and push them past you. You may not be able to take them out this way, but you can disable them long enough to get away. Of course, if you do have a weapon, you can try fighting them off, but it may be better to use their body weight to make them fall, then run like hell. There are common mistakes when fighting zombies. This is all well documented. Don't let fear get in the way of your survival. Fear can debilitate people. Look past it and do what you have to do. They're no longer human. It's much better to avoid confrontation. If you can hide out, do that until you can get to a safe place undetected. It takes a lot of effort to fracture the skull. Sometimes a sharp object to the neck is more practical, especially if you can sever the neck from the spine. The one zombie that the DoD didn't mention was bath salt zombies. These zombies are impervious to pain. They have superhuman strength, and they'll keep going through mortal injury. Watch out for them. They're extremely dangerous. Hand-to-hand combat is not recommended for these zombies at all. The good news is that these zombies will die in a short period of time on their own due to heart, liver, or kidney failure. So just hide out and wait it out. I personally have my own favorite way of waging war on zombies. Take 2 garden rakes and duct tape them together. Tape them so that both ends are prong up. Do this with several garden rake pairs and put them all around the house that you're holed up in. Make them different sizes so that if one doesn't kill the zombies, the next one will. Lay them with the prongs up in the yard. It's a trap that I've seen work several times. Okay, so I've seen it work several times in cartoons, but it'll work. When they step on the rakes stand up and will hit them in the face. If you have enough rakes, several rakes will take out several zombies in a night. Lastly, I'm going to talk about first aid for zombie bites, but you have to move quickly. You only have a few minutes before the patient becomes a zombie. Wash and disinfect the bite. Clean the wound thoroughly with soap and water. Flush it for at least 5 minutes with water while scrubbing the wound. Then disinfect it with antibiotic cream, rubbing alcohol, or, in a pinch, a mixture of vinegar, salt, and water. Stop the blood flow with steady, even pressure directly to the wound. Use a clean cloth or bandage. Then elevate the wound above the heart to stop the flow of blood. Do not try to suck the poison out. You're begging to become a zombie yourself. To keep the infection from spreading through the patient's body, wrap a tourniquet between the wound and the heart. The tourniquet can be made by wrapping a cloth around the wounded limb, then inserting a stick into the cloth and twisting until the blood flow stops. Honestly, surviving a zombie bite is highly unlikely. If the patient begins to show signs of zombification, then keep yourself safe and get them out of your safe zone. There's nothing more you can do. Remember that others are counting you as a part of their team, so don't sacrifice yourself. It's about the good of the many over the good of the few. Through all of this, know that the CDC will have people working on a vaccine and a cure immediately. It may take a few weeks to get it out to the general public, but it will come. We can last a few weeks, right? I know I can. It's 100 seconds to midnight, and the zombie apocalypse looms on the horizon. This could be the worst catastrophe known to mankind, and many won't be prepared. I'd like to thank my friend Eric Carter-Landine for allowing me to use his studio to record these episodes. I'd also like to thank Claire Taylor for her patronage and never-ending support. There is some extra content on the Patreon page. October's Patreon episode is You Scurvy Dog. It's a fun look at the history of scurvy. Check out the website at www.causeofdeath100sex.net to find out more about my Patreon page and other ways you can support the show. I'm going to be taking a short hiatus through the rest of October and into the first part of November to move. I'll be back in mid-November when we'll start Season 5, Restaurant Rogues. There will be an episode dropping on the 29th of October, and this will be a collaboration with all the people from the Darkcast Network. We'll all be telling sleepover Halloween stories. I should be back to my normal schedule by November 12th. Thanks to all of you for listening to Cause of Death, 100 Seconds to Midnight. I'll talk to you in November.